Welcome everybody to a look at not a brand new release as this came out in October, but a release nonetheless of Righting Wrongs by 88 Films. This released in 1986 and it's directed by Corey Yun. The only other film of his I've seen is The Transporter, which obviously is not a Hong Kong action film like this, but still a fairly good film. But yeah, this is definitely the better of the two. And this clocks in at 102 minutes long, stars Yuen Bao, who was also in Project A and Project A Part 2, as well as Cynthia Rothrock, and again Corey Yun, who's not only directing but also in a lead role in this film. So yeah, this is about Jason Chan, who is a Hong Kong lawyer who is angry at the way the law protects criminals and decides to take the law into his own hands, dishing out vigilante justice when a key witness and his entire family are murdered. But hotshot cop Cindy Tsai is soon on Chan's case, and the situation unravels into a fight that only a few will survive. And a few will survive is a bit of an underestimation, quite frankly, because pretty much no one gets out of this unscathed, which is, yeah, quite unusual for a film of this type. Usually the hero and their sidekick or whatever at least get out of this film alive, which, not to spoil anything, but yeah, quite frankly, the fact that anyone at all in a leading role survives this at all is a surprise, quite frankly. But yeah, still, this is a fantastic release. Easily the most limited edition release I've gotten from 88 Films, as this comes with a whole host of physical extras and special features on the discs themselves. But yeah, in terms of the film itself, I didn't really have much in the way of expectations from this because I haven't seen a huge amount from those involved, but ultimately this was a highly engaging and hugely entertaining effort. The action scenes are the big draw here, with most Hong Kong action films, to be fair, as they are incredibly well choreographed, violent, tense, and well produced, with none of the characters being safe from harm or death. So yeah, like I said earlier, only a few will survive, and even then not many do. So yeah, the cast is also really good. It is solidly paced, it has an engrossing plot, the score is well done, and it is nicely shot, especially when it comes to the action scenes. Now sure, the whole idea of someone getting justice themselves by vigilantism isn't something new. So there's many films in the 80s and even in the 70s, we know like the Death Wish series and other films similar to that. But yeah, this definitely does it in a different enough way in terms of the action, which is not just about, you know, taking revenge or anything like that, but you obviously get a lot of hand-to-hand combat, which is extremely well done. And like I said, it's also really rather violent as well. It's not something that holds back on violence either. And yeah, with this release, you get 3 different versions of the film, all of them clocking in at different running times. So yeah, on the first disc, you get the Hong Kong cut, and then on the second disc, you get the English cut and the Singapore cut and the Ultimate cut. Now, the Ultimate cut is basically a merger of the Singapore cut and the Hong Kong cut to make the longest version of this. I only saw the Hong Kong cut because typically it's the Hong Kong cut that is the better film of the bunch, certainly in comparison to, say, the English version or anything like that. So, yeah, really, really fantastic release, quite frankly, to get all of those included. And then you get a bunch of commentaries, interviews and the like, archive or otherwise. And then you get a bunch of art cards as well, showing off shots from the film. That's part of one of the amazing action scenes. Incredible stunt with one of our leads on a plane. Same part of the action scene as the first art card. Then a character interaction. And then 2 more action scene ones. There's Cynthia Rothrock there. And yeah, she is really, really rather good. It's a massive shame that she never got, you know, roles in more well-known Western films, for instance. Because her acting isn't any worse than, say, Arnie or Stallone or Van Damme or Dolph Lundgren or anything like that, and yet they got major action film roles. But Cynthia Rothrock didn't. Considering that she's even better in terms of the action role itself than those actors, or at least as good as, say, Van Damme, it can only come down to the fact that she's a woman, and therefore it was a sexist choice not to include her in main roles for action films. But yeah, you also get a double-sided poster with this, with the new artwork that we saw on the hard box, but this time with the the Chinese writing on the bottom, which is really nice. And then you get the original one as well, which is a little less spectacular, especially if you don't speak the language, but it conveys parts of the film at least. And yeah, you also get a 80-page booklet with the more original artwork on it. And yeah, this has got a whole host of extras inside here. So you got Yuen, Corey, and Guelos Galore by Matthew Edwards. Then you got an interview with actor Karen Shepherd by Matthew Edwards. Then you got special thanks. So yeah, and then you got shots from the film as well. Another part of an action scene there. And yeah, behind the scenes shots there. That plane there is the one that was used in that's one of those stunts in the art cards that I showed. So yeah, it's a fantastic release. It's easily, like I said, the most limited edition version of an 88 film release that I've had, and really glad I invested in it and bought it because yeah, like I said, not seen it before, not seen much from the actors or the director before either, and yet this was a massive surprise in how great it was. Easily one of my favourite 80s action films now. Yeah, highly recommended if you're into Hong Kong action films or action films in general, to be honest, because yeah, as much as good as the hand-to-hand combat is, there's also really well good gunplay, massive explosions, and yeah, really good stunts as well. So yeah, highly recommend getting this if you haven't already. And if you're not sure about it, then at least rent it or stream it or something like that, because it is well worth watching. So yeah, and another reason I've given this a review, because obviously, like I said, this came out in October, so it's a couple of months ago now. But Cynthia Rothrock is going to be starring in another film that we're going to be looking at, Yes Madame, with Michelle Yeoh, which is coming out from Eureka. So yeah, that was another reason to get this, really. Not only am I a fan of Hong Kong action films or 80s action films, but I really want to get a taste of what Cynthia Rothrock can do, and this has given me a great taste of that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what she can do in Yes Madame. And yeah, I hope that's as good as, if not better than this, because I've given this 4.5 out of 5. Highly recommended. So yeah, nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.